Hello everyone, welcome to a review slash comparison slash use cases for the 2024 Paul McBeth Z Flex Jawbreaker Kratos from the Discraft Tour Series lineup that everyone has been waiting to get their hands on ever since the announcement. And if you haven't bought one yet and you're not sure, I will show you some comparisons. I'll compare the Kratos to, not the Luna, simply because I'm sure you're going to find tons of videos comparing it to the Luna. Spoiler alert, it's just a Luna with a bead, so it's going to keep its stability for longer. Because beads don't add stability, they just keep their stability for a longer amount of time. But anyways, I will be comparing it to the current disc in my bag. That's my overstable throwing putter, this S-Line P2. The newer brother to it that kind of was a disappointment to the disc golf community in the Sky God 4. I'll explain why in maybe a separate video. And then lastly, a disc that was featured in my underrated disc video, a Vision Atom. These all serve the overstable throwing putter slot that I think compares with the Kratos very well. I will show you some profile comparisons from the Kratos to the other three discs mentioned, and then I'll throw you some field shots of me throwing in the field, comparing the four discs, and then I'll show you just the Kratos on use cases on the course and overall findings. So stay tuned to see if the Kratos might work for you. So when we compare the profile versus the Atom, the one thing that is immediately established that the Kratos is beaded, while the other three discs, the two P2s and the Atom, are not beaded. But in terms of shape, the Atom and Kratos are quite similar, with a more streamlined bullet shape. But the one thing that makes the Kratos and the Luna unique that a lot of you are aware of or should be aware of is that the bottom edge is actually rounded, whereas a lot of putters, they'll have that top edge to be rounded, sure, but then that bottom edge kind of slants into a straight angle. And the Kratos and Luna are unique because they don't do that. It gives them a more rounded shape. Then when we look at the Kratos versus the Sky God, we can instantly see that the Sky God is much beefier in shape, way taller, way deeper, even despite being unbeaded. The Sky God just looks so much bigger or taller in terms of the rim. And also, one thing about the Sky God that becomes apparent in some later footage is that while the Kratos has a slight dome, which is expected from a lot of putters, that's not putting putters or throwing putters, the Sky God's actually puddle topped. When comparing the Kratos to the current overstable throwing putter in my bag, the Innova S-Line P2, you can tell once again that the Kratos is different. Obviously it's beaded, but again, that bottom edge is just rounded. It's a round circle compared to the flat edge, which you can see on the SB2, while the P2 is also a little bit bigger. Again, same as the Sky God. So now we're in the field. I'm doing this first round flat, and here comes the S-Line P2. I throw it flat, give it some height. I had a bit of a tailwind here, and it goes straight and just fades off like it should, like a reliable overstable putter. Next we have the Sky God, and I absolutely rip into this one, but because of its lack of dome, it doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of just stays straight and it kind of just falls, almost like a bird. And then the Atom, more of the same. The only difference between that and the P2s are that because of the more streamlined profile of the Atom, it just gets to where it's going quicker. And then the Kratos was very interesting because it just stayed in the air for a super long time despite having some stability. And then when throwing these back, left to right tailwind, I throw the S-Line P2 first, a little bit nose up, slight anhyzer, but it mostly just holds straight, goes a decent distance. Then when going to the Atom, it just holds the anhyzer and pans out, which is pretty normal of a putter of this stability. I feature that in a different video, my underrated disc video. And then when throwing the Kratos, it just goes forever. This shot went across the whole soccer field and into the trees, a solid 35 feet up in the air. This putter genuinely might have traveled, if it was all flat ground, a solid 350 feet maybe, which that sounds insane, but it just has, the Kratos has so much glide. And then when I'm throwing these on hyzer, I wanted to test if the Kratos holds the stability, like the S-Line P2 shows here. Same with the Sky God. I throw it a little high, but we're not really super interested in that disc anyways. You kind of see it fall to the ground. And then the Atom, again, most of the same. Throw it on hyzers, no shocker. But the Kratos, it actually flips up on me a little bit and then fading, but I do think part of that is because of some off-axis torque, some oats, because I didn't quite get the feel of this disc. Then when throwing these all on another anhyzer, once again I put the S-Line V2, slightly nose up, slight anhyzer, so it kind of just goes straight. I wanted to see if the Kratos going so far in the second round of throws was just a fluke. So I throw it again here. Decent, but the tail one kind of does not let it turn the full way, but it still just goes. The one thing with the Kratos is that when you think it's going to fade, when you throw it flatter anhyzer, it just keeps going straight. And you can see here that here's the S-Line P2, and then a solid 40 feet further is the Kratos, which I threw them both pretty similarly, I would say. I made the similar mistake on both of them. So overall findings are that the Kratos just goes really far, and that is once again reinforced when you go to the course. Hole 1, Dolly Cooper, 290 feet. I throw the Kratos on pure hyzer at hyzers, and it goes way long. And then when throwing it on 17, it just goes and goes and goes, and it went even further than my first tee shot, which I don't show you guys, which was a turnover flip. But what I really like the Kratos for is shown in this clip. It's hole 4 at the Blue Flame disc golf course, which I will show you the full 18 of this soon. But this hole is 300 feet in the woods, and it veers off way to the left. And I just throw the Kratos on a good bit of hyzer. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, here we go. On a lot of hyzer, I give it some height, and it just fades left. You can't really see where this ends up because it was blind, but I ended up a solid 10 feet long of the basket. I never played this hole before. I think I gave it a near ace run, but just a fantastic shot. And here's me talking, which again, you'll see what I say when I post the full 18. But overall, I would say the typical findings of the Kratos is that it serves a completely different role than your typical overstable backhand throwing putter like a P2, or I don't know, like Finish Line's Pace, or some others that might come to mind. Whereas your overstable putter, when I think of an overstable putter, I think of something that, yes, will have some glide, but will also have a reliable fade with accuracy. That if I'm in the open at like a 270 foot range, like a short to medium-ish range, and there's nothing in the way, I can just throw it to the right of the basket flat, have it go for a bit, but then crash, overstability crash, and sit next to the basket. Whereas the Kratos kind of fills a completely different role because it just goes so far. I would say you can honestly bag this and something overstable like a P2 or something like that. You both can honestly fit a space in your bag, whereas the P2 won't exactly do that 300-foot hyzer in the woods flay, whereas the Kratos will. It just stays up in the air. It refuses to go down despite being an overstable putter thing. So overall, if you're a woods player and you want to have control with a putter but still go really far, this is an absolute weapon of a disc that I think you should look into. But if you're an open player, this could be used for if you want to throw something as far as a mid-range, but with a putter. Or if you have a slight crosswind and you do learn this disc, then you can get the stability that you need out of it. But overall, I would say it's a really good disc, really unique, just a really glidey, overstable putter. And that's about it. I got this disc, sponsorship announcement, super hype. Obviously, you see that I'm posting courses in the Greenville, South Carolina area, and we are getting a new shop from another round. And they have graciously sponsored me, so you'll see a lot more posts on YouTube and my Instagram if you want to check that out, where I'll be just doing some typical highlights, posts like that, how to birdie hole, whatever at this. So I hope that'll be a really cool partnership, and I'm excited for that in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.